Hi everyone, I'm Pranita and welcome to my kitchen. Today we are learning how to make tamarind puliogare. This is going to be a very easy recipe, so let's get started. So these are the ingredients you're going to need for this recipe. Here I have 1 cup of tamarind, that is this tightly packed tamarind. This comes with the seeds and the ribs and the skin and everything, a little bit of skin attached to it. So while soaking it, just give it a rinse and soak it in 1 cup of hot water, or you can just heat it up in the microwave for 1 minute. And I've been letting it sit for about half an hour now so that it can soak all the way through, and it gives a very nice amount of pulp when I extract the pulp out of it. I have some more ingredients like 1 teaspoon coriander seeds, half a teaspoon of cumin seeds, and about 5 to 6 chilies, dried chilies. These are the nice spicy ones, not the mild ones. And I have 3 large garlic cloves. I also have some peppercorns. Now these we are gonna be using for the tamarind mixture. Next we are gonna make some tempering for that mixture. I'm gonna show you guys later what kind of ingredients you need for the tempering. So here I have the soaked tamarind. I've started mashing it with my hand, and I always suggest adding less water while soaking the tamarind, because the end product, the tamarind extract, if it comes out nice and thick, it takes less time to boil. By that I mean that we are going to extract all the pulp, and the tamarind extract will be added to this saucepan, and I'm going to bring it to boil and simmer it until it thickens nicely so that I can add the tempering. So I'm just gonna go ahead and squeeze out all the juice out of it, and while straining it I will make sure that I don't get any ribs or seeds or skin into the end product. So this is how much is left of that soaked tamarind, and I ended up with a pretty good amount, and this is how it should look. It basically, you can see that it's very thin and all you can see is ribs and seeds, and that's when you're done. I ended up adding a couple of tablespoons more just to loosen it up. So once you set it up on the stove, and as soon as it starts heating up and as soon as it comes to boil, it's gonna splatter onto you. So you want to make sure that you cover it with a lid and use a bigger spatula even though you're cooking a little less amount of puliogare, because it splatters like crazily, and use some protective mittens to save your hands from that burning hot liquid. And it starts bubbling up pretty quickly. Once it comes to a nice boil, I'm gonna reduce it to medium heat, so that way it's not burning at the bottom. So you do need to stir it in the middle. While the tamarind pulp comes to a nice boil, on the other side I have a small frying pan heating up for me, and I'm gonna add about like half a teaspoon of canola oil. You can add peanut oil, any oil that you want to. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add these dried chilies to the pan and toast them up a little bit. While the chilies are toasting up, I'm gonna peel some garlic and toast that as well. Now what we're gonna do with this is that we are going to toast these spices a little bit and blend it up really well and add it. I'm using a small Indian style blender because it blends really well, and the chili peppers are toasting beautifully. Let's turn this garlic around. We don't want them to burn, so let's go ahead and add the cumin seeds and the coriander seeds to the blender. You don't want to add any salt to this dish right now. So these are toasted. Transfer them into the jar, and you can add a touch of water to help blend it, but you don't want to add too much. So I might end up adding like a tablespoon or a couple of tablespoons to loosen and help the blades blend it really well. And once it's blended, I'm just gonna go ahead and add it to the tamarind. And oh yeah, I also gave it a stir a couple of times. It's been like a couple of minutes. I put it on the stove top, the tamarind pulp. So here is my tamarind extract coming to a nice boil. It's not spluttering yet. So I have some fresh curry leaves. I don't personally like to add curry leaves to the tempering because they splutter a lot, they make a really big mess. This way the curry leaf flavor gets to the tamarind paste really well. And the peppers that I have shown you guys earlier, this is the blended mixture. It's nice and coarse. I can still see the seeds and the coriander seeds, and when you bite into them, they really taste good. And now, you know, all the flavors get a good chance to mix, and I'm just gonna give it a good stir. You don't want to cover the, and this is how the tamarind mixture looks. It's beautiful. Oh, while the tamarind is boiling, try to cook some white rice. So you can use basmati rice if that's what you have on hand. I use short grain Sona Masuri rice. While the tamarind is boiling, if you have the rice prepared, then you can go ahead and mix in the prepared mixture and to enjoy it at the end. Earlier you have seen me adding some of the spices blended and mixed in with that tamarind mixture that is coming to a nice thickened texture right now. Let's go ahead and talk about what you can use in the tempering. Now usually there are peppercorns and asafoetida added in the tempering process, but I didn't grow up eating a lot of asafoetida, so personally I don't have any preference towards that, so I skipped it from the recipe. But if you are a big fan of asafoetida, just add a pinch of it. Here I have some roasted peanuts. Usually you want to use some dried unroasted peanuts, but I have roasted on hand, so I'm gonna just add it at the end because I love the flavor of them, and you can add it to it. It will taste fine. And I have some chana dal, or you can also use moong dal if you like the small texture of it. The chana dal is that, as I said, if you're using the tamarind mixture now, they all stay crunchy, and as they let them sit for a while, they kind of soak up that moisture in that dish, and they become plumped up and nice and tangy, and they have their own flavor as you bite into them in the future. For now, I also have some mustard seeds, just a little bit. I'm not gonna add all of them, and some cumin seeds. I'm also using some canola oil. I have the same frying pan. Once the tamarind paste comes to a nice boil, we are gonna just go ahead and do the tempering as well. Oh yes, we also need nice amount of turmeric. Tamarind paste is thickening up. It's almost done. It's it just needs to thicken a little bit more. I gave it like a final stir, and I'm gonna let it go for like 5 more minutes and thicken it up. Here, as you can see, I have like 1/4 cup of canola oil heating up. This is for the tempering. Now I have a teaspoon measure, and I'm gonna go ahead and add about a couple of teaspoons of mustard seeds. Now as the oil heats up, the mustard seeds will heat up and start spluttering. Once you know that the mustard seeds are spluttering, that's your cue to go ahead and start adding the other spices. I don't know if you can hear, but that's my cue. So let's go ahead and add about 1.5 teaspoon of cumin seeds. Reduce the stove, and then go ahead and add the chana dal. Now you want the untoasted ones to toast up really well, but in the process you don't want to burn the cumin seeds. The chana dal doesn't take much time. Let me grab a spoon, and you can just give it a stir and take a peek. And once that is done, I'm gonna go ahead and add fresh chilies. You wanna add fresh chilies before the dried chilies because they have more moisture, and they can bring down the temperature of the oil and stop the cumin seeds and everything from burning. You can add, this is a place where you can add some asafoetida or something like that. If these peanuts were not roasted, I would have added them earlier with the chana dal and let them toast up a little bit. But these peanuts are roasted peanuts, and once you add the dried chilies, there's not much of toasting left. Let's go ahead and add these roasted peanuts as well, so that they heat up a little bit with the oil. And these dried chilies and fresh chilies are cooked properly as well. For finish, once right before turning it off, I'm gonna add about like a half a teaspoon of turmeric to it. If you can see, but the tamarind mixture has thickened beautifully and we don't want the turmeric to burn. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add it to the hot thickened tamarind mixture and give it a good stir. Now I've turned off the heat. The tamarind mixture is still not on the heat. And it took about like 15 minutes to thicken. That's the advantage of adding less water. It helps thicken the tamarind mixture really quickly. And this is how you want it to look. It's nice and fresh. I have some Sona Masuri rice prepared. This is a great dish to have on hand because if you have like a leftover rice or if you're having one of those lazy days, you can just take the mixture out and mix it up and it's gonna be lovely. Excuse me. Pardon me. So this is it, guys. The tamarind mixture should look like this. It's a nice thick paste. It has everything from garlic to chilies to curry leaf, and all it needs is a little bit of salt. I also added some fresh black pepper instead of peppercorns because sometimes peppercorns can be too much when you bite into them and they might surprise you. So I'm just gonna go ahead and give it a stir, and let's go ahead and mix a little bit in the rice. So this is a great dish to have on hands, and if you mix it in the rice like a couple of hours before you serve it to your guests or your family, so that it gets some time to mingle the flavors, and it's gonna be fantastically tasting. But it also tastes great right after mixing as well. You do need a little bit of salt, so I'm gonna grab some salt, about like a healthy pinch of salt. Make sure you taste the salt in the rice so that you would know, and just adjust the tartness of this dish to your taste. And here you go. You have made Tamarind Puliogare, and it couldn't be easier. So here's my Tamarind Puliogare ready to be served. Thanks for watching. You can find this recipe and many more at booklesscooking.com. Thank you.